Hi lads, today I wanted to go over the very first chess gambit that I ever learned 15 years ago. This is the Ryder Gambit. I wouldn't advise playing this gambit for over-the-board games, but if you're playing a rapid or blitz game online, it does exceptionally well. You can check on Lead Chess. As you can see, the percentages for this gambit do exceptionally well on the Lead Chess database. White is winning in the majority of the games, and that's because white gets a lot of development and black gets material. And it's much easier to play an aggressive attacking chess game when you're developed versus if you have an extra pawn or two. Let's jump into the Ryder Gambit. The Ryder Gambit can begin with either d4 or e4. It doesn't matter which move you start with. If you do start e4 and you're hit with a Scandinavian, then this might be a gambit for you guys to pick up. d4 is the move you play, and we are gambiting this pawn, which means we are giving black a pawn for free. Now, they don't have to take it, but if they don't take it, then the engine says white is doing better. So here, they really should take it. Knight comes out to c3, attacking the pawn, and the top move by the engine, and the most common move for them to play, is knight f6, defending the pawn. And here, instead of playing a von Poppel gambit, which is bishop g5, a gambit that I actually really like, the Ryder Gambit, which was the first gambit I ever learned, is playing the pawn to f3. Now, their best move, according to the engine, is to take. Now, they don't have to take. They could try to play c5 and do something complicated, but their best move is to take, and it's the most common response. They will capture here, and instead of taking back with the knight and defending our pawn on d4, we want to take with the queen, removing the defender of this pawn. And so this move, queen takes f3, is the Ryder Gambit. They can capture the pawn, and it's the best move for them to do. And here we have the Ryder Gambit. This is where I showed you all those percentages at the start of the video, showing the win percentages, and white has a winning percentage in every single line from this point on in the Lead Chess database, which is pretty crazy considering black is up 2 pawns. Now, there are a lot of responses, and the more you study a line, the more that it separates, and you can go off on this line and that line. I'm going to go over a few of the main responses and some traps that can occur in all of those lines. There are some beautiful, disgusting attacks in this gambit, and I'll save some of the best for last. Queen sacrifices, brilliant moves, all the works. We start off by hitting the queen on d4. One of the opening principles in chess is to develop your pieces, and one way you can develop for free is by tempoing your enemy pieces. So if your opponent's king is sitting out in the middle and you move your bishop off the back rank and check him, you've basically forced a check, and you're forcing the king to move or respond to your check, and you're developing for free. So in this position, a queen is sitting right in the middle on d4. How can we attack that queen? Well, we can see a couple moves: bishop to e3 and knight to e2. Both moves attack that queen, and we develop for free. And the move we want to play here is bishop to e3. Now, there are a few different responses that black can do. I want to have a look first off at queen to h4, and then queen to g4, queen to d8, and finally we'll look at queen to b4. Let's have a look first at queen to h4. So queen to h4 is a logical move to look for because it's a check, but it is one of the less common moves. It is, according to the engine, the best move. Queen h4, we don't want to trade off queens by coming back to f2 or g3. And so here we just play the move g3, hitting the queen, and the queen's going to pull probably over to g4, trying to trade. We don't want to trade, so we just go queen f2. Remember, in a gambit, you never want to trade your attacking pieces. So try as best as you can not to trade off your queen. And here, a lot of the time, you'll see a move kind of like e5. E5 puts a pawn in the center, but this is a mistake. I just want to show you this because this is a common kind of response. You would want to activate your bishop and get a pawn into the center, but here we can just go bishop to h3, hitting the queen, hitting the bishop on the other side. The queen's going to have to move. They only have one good move in this entire position. If they go anywhere but this square, they are completely losing. So here they go to b4. We take the bishop off for free. They can take here, but if they do, we have the beautiful move, not obvious move, but knight to d1, giving them a rook. Now they may here want to throw in a check. They can throw in a check or they can capture. Both are exactly the same. So check, we would just block, take. We can capture with the queen here. We're looking super active. And if they ever take our rook, we can capture here and take their rook. And so, yeah, their best move is to castle here. We capture here. And look at the material. We both have two knights. We have a rook. They have a rook. But we also have a bishop. Okay, so we're actually doing totally fine in this position. Engine gives it nearly a +1 for white. This is if they, play e5, one of the most common responses in the opening, especially when you're playing one of the most common moves in that position. If they decide in this position not to play e5, we just want to go for activity. So maybe they play a simpler move like e6, which looks like it blocks the bishop out. It kind of does. We can just tempo the queen away. They could come back to f5 here, but we don't want a queen trade, remember? And so we would just develop our knight to f3. If they do come over to b4 here, we can actually just long castle. We have a very active rook. We have a knight that can jump to b5, looking at this square on c7, and everything is looking pretty exciting for us. The engine only says black is up about a point of material, even though they're up 2 pawns. The engine only says it's about 1, and you have a lot of activity, and there's a lot of good aggressive ways to get an edge in this kind of position. Let's jump back and have a look at queen to g4. So here, if they go queen to g4, they're trying to trade queens here, and we don't want to trade queens. Remember, we are attacking, so we don't want to get rid of one of our most powerful pieces. We pull back here to f2. Just remember, if the queen ever comes over to this side of the board, often you're playing queen to f2. Here, a very common move is knight to c6, developing a piece into the center. It seems like one of the most logical moves, and it's one of the most played moves on the Lichess database. Here, we're just going to play h3 and kick the queen away. And there's a few different moves for them, but most often than not, they're going to play queen to b4. This is the top engine move. Looking at this pawn, here we castle, okay? And we're looking down this file, and we've got this king trapped in a little corner here. So if we're ever able to just make a check on the king, he's not going to be able to escape. And so this is a very common idea in the Ryder Gambit, getting the rook onto this d file, often doing that by long castling, or sometimes just bringing the rook to d1 and leaving the king on e1. Here, there's a lot of different moves from black, but the best move is pawn to e6. And if they go pawn to e6, we can just go knight to b5, attacking this pawn. And there's a lot of ways for black to mess up here. Let's have a look at a couple different ways for how they could defend this pawn. They need to find the move queen af5. This is really the only decent move for them, but it's not obvious to play that. It's more likely that they're going to put their knight here on d5, defending the pawn. And this is a blunder because we can brilliantly sacrifice our rook. And after they take, we can capture here on c7. The king has to go to d8, or that's one of the moves he can go to. And here, instead of even capturing here, we often lose the knight when it captures on a8. So we want to make sure that we can keep this knight, and we might not be able to. I mean, we might just be able to get the rook and that's it, and they'll get our knight. That's fine. But if we play the move a3, tempoing the queen away, the queen can come back to here, and maybe then we can have this f4 square available for us when we want to get our knight back off of a8. So here we're going to capture the rook, and let's say they play d4. Here we can just go bishop f4 and go here, or whatever else continues. Maybe they play the bishop up here. We go bishop f4, hitting here and hoping to get our knight back out. The engine says here we're up 3.7. We're completely winning. Let's go back to where the knight came here to defend. What if the bishop comes here to d6 to defend the c7 pawn? Well, you probably guessed it. Rook takes on d6. Another brilliant rook sacrifice. Here the pawn captures us, and again we don't jump in to c7, a sort of logical looking move. We play a3 first. Queen goes back to a5 to defend this square, and here we can just capture here on d6, checking the king. The king here needs to go to d7, but it doesn't look the most obvious. If I was playing the black pieces here, I probably would move to e7 so that my rook could get active here. It just looks more logical, but It's a mistake. We have the beautiful bishop to c5. The king really needs to move to d8 again, but maybe they go b6 to attack us. We can just go knight b7, checking the king and winning the queen. So there's a lot of little tricks in this opening. Let's say in this position they did go to d8. Well, here we have knight to f3 just developing. We have bishop b5 attacking. The knight defends us. And we're just getting more pieces involved, or we even have knight takes f7, a simple fork. It says it's a mistake, but we're still up plus 2.7 according to the engine. So in this position, the queen can go back to d8. So let's have a look at if it pulls back to d8. Here we want to play the move rook d1. Now we can't castle here because you're not allowed to castle through danger and the queen is looking at d1. So we have to play rook to d1, hitting the queen. The only winning move for black is to play the knight here. If they block here, well then we have queen takes b7 and we're just ripping through their position. So they have to find this move. If they play this one, which looks good, we can just go g3 here. We're looking at this pawn, we're looking at this pawn, and here e6 is their best move. We go knight f3, and then they have to play h5, which is a bit strange, or g6. This looks better because they want a fianchetto, but knight b5, we're looking at this twice. Things are getting ugly for them. If they try to just block this, then we have rook captures, pawn captures, knight captures with check. And life is good. We're just doing fantastically here. In this position, we want to get our pieces developed. We always need to remember to be developing. And so where can we put this light squared bishop? Well, if we put it here on b5, it can just get hit with c6, which isn't good because it allows their queen to have some squares that it can even jump to at some point later in the game. And right now, like, there's only one pawn missing from black's whole thing here, and the only pieces that are slightly developed are the knights. So we don't want to allow them to just move pawns for free. So coming here would be a mistake. Putting the bishop on c4 as well, they can do the same exact thing, playing e6, and we're just looking at this these two pawns, a pawn prism, and that allows them to develop their bishop. So we don't want to come to these two squares. Coming here blocks our rook. So the best move for the bishop is e2. I think this is, it's not obvious. It's not an obvious kind of move, but we want to just start getting our pieces off the back rank, castle our king, and get going with everything as soon as possible. Here they can play e6, getting their bishop super active. And here we're going to just play queen to g3, eyeing that pawn on g7. So if the bishop wants to come out, we can just take on g7, and we're going to be doing very well here. So the bishop probably wants to stay here defending. Maybe they play the move g6 so that they can fianchetto their bishop. If they play g6, we're just going to develop our knight to f3, always focusing on development. And here they're probably going to fianchetto this way so that they can castle. Well, here we're just going to castle, they castle, and now we're going to attack this rook here on f8. They can't capture us. Why can they not capture us? Because rook takes the queen. So this is a beautiful move for us. They really need to move their rook. It's their only decent move here. Move the rook over to e8, and now we go in with knight to g5, kind of like an alien sort of gambit knight, where we're looking at the f7 pawn. If they kick us here, would be a big mistake. Just like in the alien gambit, we are capturing on f7. They're going to recapture here, and now they've stepped into a pin. This knight can't move, which means always attack the pinned piece. Go in for e4, attacking the pinned piece. Every move here is losing for black, but let's say they did go for like b6. We can actually just pull back here to d4, looking at this piece, which is pinned. We're still attacking it. It's attacked 3 times, defended 3 times. And maybe here they play the move e5 just to try and get rid of us. It's defended by 2 pieces, so it seems logical, but now we can move the bishop in and check. They have to go back. Here you might say, oh, we need to defend this bishop. It's under attack. No, let's keep going with the attack, sacrificing our bishop here. If they take the bishop, queen f7 is checkmate, so they can't take it. Here they have to play queen e7, so coming in here, and now we have the beautiful bishop takes e5, and if they capture us here, we're going to sacrifice our queen. Holy moly. Capture their knight. If they take the queen, holy moly. How many beautiful moves are there here? Checkmate in 1. This is a double check. Wow. Beautiful stuff. So this is one way that you can do a big attack with the queen moving back to d8, sacrificing the knight on f7. Now, it is dependent on them making a few moves like h6, but they're logical moves. They're like top moves that people are playing, and they're big mistakes because we have so many threats, because we have so much development on the board. All right, let's have a look at the final line of queen to b4. This was one where I first learned, and I specifically learned something called the Hollister trap, which is one we're going to have a quick look at. It was the very first gambit I ever learned, the Ryder Gambit and the Hollister trap. And I remember beating somebody who was a 1600 over the board rated player, and I hadn't even studied any chess back then when I played this. Also, I recently saw a video of Anna Kramling playing some random dude at the park, and she completely fell for this and lost to the Hollister trap, which is pretty funny. Let's have a quick look at it. Back in this position, the queen's in danger. We've looked at if it moves here, here, or even back to d8. And now we're going to have a look at maybe the move b4. Now, queen to b4 is actually a lot more common than some of these other moves. And the reason for this is because it's eyeing this pawn on b2. And you might think, like, if you're calculating as black, you'd be like, okay, I'll go queen b4. What are they going to do? How are they going to defend the b2 pawn? How can they defend this? This is a fork. They need to defend this pawn. And then you'd think, oh, they castle. But then castling leaves their rook on d1, and the bishop here actually hits the queen to the rook. So this looks good for black. I'm going to go to queen to b4. So this is logical for the black player to think this way. We castle and they go here. Well, all of a sudden we're completely winning. The engine says we're up about 3 points of material. If we go knight to b5, it's the only move we can go. You better not go anything else. And they take our queen. Well, then that's checkmate in one move. Now, this is not how Anna Kramling lost the game. She realized that she couldn't take the queen here, and so she tried to play on, but she eventually got checkmated. Let's go back a few moves here. So we play knight to b5, and they really have to play this move, knight to a6. It's their only good move here. And our queen's in danger, so we capture here on b7. They might think, let's capture the rook on d1. But if they do, we take a8 with check. The king has to go to d7. And then we go knight takes a7. And the queen's coming in here. And the king is getting forced out into the open. He's going to get hunted down. The engine says we're up +6 here. So they really can't take the rook here with the bishop. What they need to do instead is try to defend with their queen, but maybe they don't find that either. What if they go rook b8? Well, here we have the beautiful queen sacrifice, because knight takes queen. This is still checkmate because the rook's holding these squares and the king can't get out. And so we only need 2 pieces to checkmate the king, which is really beautiful. The best move here for black is to find the move queen to e4, looking for a queen trade. And what do you do when your opponent offers you a queen trade? You don't take it. Now, we could take it here and we'd still be up a few points according to the engine, but taking on a6, this piece is free. We might as well take it. And if they capture us here, they think, well, they're going to capture our knight. We're going to capture their bishop. You just move over. You're doing fine here. And if they capture the rook here again, well, we have queen c6 check, and they can either block with the knight or they can play king d8. If they play king d8, well, it's a checkmate in 4 moves. Check. They have to go here. Knight d6, a beautiful sacrifice. They capture here, and the queen holds all of these squares. And so all we need to do is deliver check. How do we do that? Bishop b5. The knight blocks, and that's checkmate. It's forced. It's beautiful. Some disgusting stuff here. So they're not going to go to d8 here. They're going to block with their knight. It's their best move. And so here we can take with check. They have to block with their knight. We're going to take their knight. We're up a few points of material. They're going to have to run. And now they are big time on the run. We can take on c7. They're running away out here. And queen c6 check. Like, this is just beautiful stuff. King f5. We can check them here with the bishop. where are they going? Like if they go to g4, we can even hit them with maybe h3, but they are getting absolutely destroyed. Look at the material. We have a queen and 2 knights. They have a queen and 2 bishops, but we also have an extra miner and the rooks there. Theirs is not super active. Their king's in the open. Ours is safe. This is just completely destructive. Absolutely disgusting trap. This line with the long castle and then bringing the bishop out and hitting the queen is called the Hollister trap with knight b5. And often when I play the Jabava London, I have a rook on the d file and I go for these attacks on c7, and it's a lot of the same kinds of themes. But lads, if you do want to practice any of these lines, I have on Noctie.ai a little repertoire that I made that I'll post a link in the description for you guys to practice some of these lines. So if you do want to get Noctie.ai, use the coupon code Blunderman or BlundermanYear for a big discount, but you can practice these lines against an engine and get better at them, and then you'll feel confident, ready to play the Ryder Gambit against people online and see if you can get some of those brilliant moves. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you all very soon. Bye for now.